Hi there, it's Brett Ormby here. It's time for another Calgary Flames trade retrospect video here. As I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I was going to plan to do some Calgary Flames trade retrospects here, as this will be the first of three trades that I'm going to look back on that the Calgary Flames made that happened around this time, either at the end of January or early February here. But in this case here, I'm going to say, let's talk about the time when we brought Craig Conroy back. Yeah, I remember how exciting it was when we brought him back after he signed with the Los Angeles Kings there, and gave my thoughts on the trade and break it down, and let's reflect on, was this a good trade for the Calgary Flames to get back Craig Conroy here? And it was surreal and awesome, and how it all played out here. However, one kicker is that when the Calgary Flames reacquired Craig Conroy, he actually was stranded in Red Deer. As that was definitely another quirk to the story there, because if you thought getting Mike Camilleri back when he got traded during the game there was strange, I'm going to say this story is even stranger when Craig Conroy came back to the Calgary Flames there, and he got stranded in Red Deer in the process here. And speaking of Mike Camilleri here, there's actually a Mike Camilleri connection to this trade here. So let's reflect on the time when we made the trade to get Craig Conroy back to Calgary, and I felt like it was meant to be that ultimately he had to come back to Calgary. And he was definitely he actually had his chemistry with Jarome Iginla there. And actually I heard this fact that of the goals that Jarome Iginla scored, the 525 that he scored with these guys in his NHL career there, apparently Craig Conroy assisted on 90 of those goals here. And after the initial, you could say maybe friction, or, I was one of those fans too that when we got him here the first time here at the trade deadline in 2001 year, I was like, wow, that's not really that good of a trade. We traded away Corey Stillman at the time, and we brought in Craig Conroy, and we actually got a 5th round pick there. And David Moss was that player that Jarome Iginla was looking for to go behind Craig Conroy there, but we had to draft him first, if you look at his retirement speech there. But even Jarome Iginla kind of said, oh, we don't need any more checkers here. But ultimately, when Craig Conroy was able to find his offensive ability even more with the Calgary Flames there, this is just a simplify of it, he definitely connected with Jarome Iginla and had his best career season in 01-02 there, the season when Jarome Iginla won the Art Ross Trophy, and you could probably say he should have won the Hart Trophy that season if one hockey writer actually showed up and voted, but he didn't. But we didn't make the playoffs that year, and that was another factor. But Craig Conroy definitely was a great Calgary Flame, and he was a great person. And actually, before he gave the captaincy to Jarome Iginla in the 2003-04 season there, he's one of the guys that was the captain of the Calgary Flames. And leading up until 2004 there, where we had that magical run to the Stanley Cup final there, and he was the second leading scorer there. He was actually an unrestricted free agent coming in to the offseason, but a lot of players were, because as you recall there, after that magical run to the Stanley Cup final there, the lockout happened where it wiped out the 2004-05 season there. And as a fan looking back, I say that lockout was necessary for the sake of the NHL, for where it is at now, I think, and for the smaller market teams like the Calgary Flames, for example, compared to other North American cities there. But what was happened is that after that 2003-04 season, as magical it was there, it did hurt a little that Craig Conroy did sign with the Los Angeles Kings. But the reason why he ultimately signed with the Los Angeles Kings there is that they offered him a 4-year deal worth $3 million at the time there, and there was a lot of financial uncertainty with the impending lockout that all of us saw was coming for years, and it actually happened, and we lost the season for it. But that's why Craig Conroy signed that deal, and it felt like it stung a little that we lost him, but we couldn't blame him for getting that guaranteed contract here, because Calgary didn't sign any of their free agents until after the lockout there. But then the lockout happened, it wiped out that season. So he lost a year of that contract, plus that 24% rollback that all the players agreed to when the lockout on the negotiations there, and then eventually the players had to give in on the salary cap, and ultimately ended the lockout there. But Craig Conroy, actually his first season with the Los Angeles Kings there, we were still under Andy Murray there. This was the 2005-06 season there. He actually had his second best season in his career, only behind the 0-1-2 season there, where he was on the line with Jerome McGinley there in his season where he won the Art Ross Trophy here. But then there were still rumors that the Calgary Flames were looking to get him back here, and it definitely got escalated the following season as the Los Angeles Kings in 2006-07 there, they were definitely struggling in the stands there, and actually this was when they let Andy Murray go, and they hired Mark Crawford to be the head coach the following season there. Craig Conroy definitely didn't play as well with the Kings under Mark Crawford there, and Los Angeles was definitely struggling in the stands here, while the Calgary Flames were looking at still being high off of the 2004 run there. They were looking at possibly adding to the lineup here, and apparently there was rumors about Craig Conroy coming back here. So much so that before the advent of social media really took off here, because this trade happened on January 29th, 2007 there, so 13 years ago, as the Calgary Flames, there was rumors about Craig Conroy coming back to the point where the forum websites actually put a moratorium on if you're going to talk about something about Craig Conroy and any rumors here, we need a very, very credible source there, because there were just too many here. But then, this trade actually happened on a Monday here, where actually the Los Angeles Kings, they were on the Western Road swing there as they played in Vancouver. And then they played in Edmonton on the Saturday night, and then they were scheduled to play here in Calgary on the Tuesday night here. This would have been on January 30th, 2007 there, if I have my dates exact there. The Los Angeles Kings, this is the part where Craig Conroy, you could say, got stranded in Red Deer there, as the Los Angeles Kings as a team there, they were practicing on an outdoor rink in Red Deer there. You can also, I'll put the story in the below there, that it was Rogers Hometown Hockey that made an interesting video talking about Craig Conroy and his time that he did get stranded in Red Deer, as the Los Angeles Kings, they were practicing on the outdoor rink there, and there was a lot of people that watched in. It was Los Angeles Kings, NHL, practicing on an outdoor rink in Red Deer there, and Craig Conroy was still a Los Angeles Kings at that time, going to, he was going to come to Calgary. At the time, he thought to play as a King there, and then towards the end of practice there, the Calgary Flames and the Los Angeles Kings were talking about the trade there, and as he was coming off the ice there for the trade, where he was getting told by come see the management from the Los Angeles Kings there that they said, oh, we need to talk to you. It seemed a little odd, but you hear these stories when players get traded that they get approached, and then so ultimately at that time the Calgary Flames, and I was also at the office at the time, listening to Fan 960 or Sportsnet 960, the Fan. There was the radio of the Calgary Flames there. I just heard, the Calgary Flames made a trade, and I was like, who did we trade? And I heard, the Flames traded Jamie Lundmark, who was on the Calgary Flames at the time, a guy that we acquired. He was a depth forward that the Calgary Flames acquired at the trade deadline in 2006 there, and you could say he's one of those many, many players that were drafted in the first round. In 1999, if your last name isn't Sedin there, it was definitely a disappointing draft there, but the Calgary Flames traded Jamie Lundmark to the Los Angeles Kings with 2 draft picks for Craig Conroy, and I was like stunned. Like, we actually got Conroy back. Wow. So I was definitely stunned and excited that we actually got Craig Conroy back, and I felt it was fitting that he meant to come back to the Calgary Flames there. So the Calgary Flames got Craig Conroy back at that time when he was still with the Los Angeles Kings practicing on the outdoor rink in Red Deer there. But what really makes it strange here is that once he got traded to the Calgary Flames there, he kind of, couldn't go on the bus anymore with the LA Kings, because they were going to Calgary anyway to play the Calgary Flames the next night there. But Craig Conroy is now Calgary Flame from the Los Angeles Kings there, so he was kind of stranded there. And that Rogers Hometown Hockey video where he talked about that day to Craig Conroy, I mean, there's players that get traded, on game day, and it was the other team involved, and just go in the other locker room. And I guess it's more common in baseball where players get traded to the game there. I mean, we have baseball games played in the afternoon, and they have their many trade deadlines that, players get traded during the game there. But how many players can say that they got traded, in a, during a outdoor rink in an out-of-town city? And this is where it's really strange. And if you think the Mike Camilleri getting traded during the game was strange, then there's actually a Mike Camilleri connection to this trade here. But yeah, Craig Conroy was left in Red Deer, and actually Mike Camilleri was also in that video was wondering, why aren't you on the bus with us? And then he said, I just got traded to Calgary. And eventually, a representative from Calgary came to Red Deer to pick up Craig Conroy and bring him back to Calgary there. And so that definitely was a strange story there. So that's the story about going into the trade there. But yeah, it was definitely surreal and exciting that we brought him back here. But now we'll look at, was this a great trade for the Calgary Flames to bring back, a fan favorite here that, he was a little more expensive. And I always thought this started that tradition that bringing back guys that were a little older and more expensive here. But I think if that lockout didn't happen, Craig Conroy would have easily signed an extension because, and that was the other thing too. When he came back to Calgary, he was like a rock star. He got the rock star treatment, and fans love him. I mean, he's definitely a great personality, and he's definitely a leader. And he's barely played half of his games in the NHL career with the Calgary Flames here, and one of those many, I guess you could say, lovable characters there. And thankfully, he's still with the Calgary Flames today as one of the assistant general managers here. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely the story of that. And it fittingly, he came back to Calgary. We were playing the Los Angeles Kings, and it brought excitement to a Tuesday night game in the dead of winter here. And at the time when he got traded to Calgary from Los Angeles, he only had like 5 goals on the regular season there. And actually, I think it was a month that he last scored a goal, and it happened to be against the Calgary Flames. And but then he scored 2 goals that night there against the Los Angeles Kings, and everything just felt good and right that we brought him back here. So, but I gotta say it was a great trade for the Calgary Flames, not because of only getting a favorite, a fan favorite back, but it was also the other pieces of the trade that kind of worked out. But Los Angeles didn't necessarily get shafted either here. But yeah, if you could look back on his career numbers here, I mean, his best season was the 0-1-2 season, where in 81 games, he had 27 goals, 48 assists, and 75 points. That was the year that he also was on Jerome McGinley when he won his Art Ross trophy there. I mean, his first season with the Los Angeles Kings, where he actually played, he had, in 78 games, he had 22 goals, 44 assists for 66 points, which was the second best season behind the Art Ross season for Jerome McGinley there. And then when he got traded here, he only had, in 52 games, he only had 5 goals and 11 assists for 16 points here. But then when he came to the Calgary Flames in 28 games, he had 8 goals, 13 assists for 21 points there. So, and then he had a couple seasons where he still played the whole season there, but towards the end of his career there, as he got older, he had injury issues there, and then ultimately, the fate was sealed with Craig Conroy that maybe it's time for him to retire, but he did at least get to play his 1,000th game in the NHL here, and that's definitely no small feat. I always say when you hear someone who played their 1,000th game and got a silver stick, you could say you did something that Mario Lemieux didn't do. Because believe it or not, as great as Mario Lemieux was as a player here, and if he didn't have injury issues there, and Lishkin's type of cancer there, imagine his numbers, what it could have been. Because Mario Lemieux did not play 1,000 games in the NHL there, but actually he was the second oldest player to get 1,000 games here. As I'm looking at his Wikipedia here, that only Grant Ledyard was the only other player that played his 1,000th game in the NHL there, and he did it when he was over 40 years. Craig Conroy was 39 at the time when he got his 1,000th game, but he was definitely felt like it was meant to be for him to come back to the Calgary Flames here. So yeah, I mean, and then also he had the 19 points in the 2004 playoffs there. That's the second leading scorer there. So it was definitely great to get him back here. But going the other way to the Los Angeles Kings here, well, they got Jamie Lundmark here. And at the time when Jamie Lundmark got traded with the Flames here in the 6-7 season there, in 39 games here, he only had 4 assists. So 4 points there. But when he actually did go to the Los Angeles Kings there, he in 29 games, he actually had 7 goals and 2 assists for 9 points there. So he had a little bit of a offensive spark when he went to the Los Angeles Kings there. But the Los Angeles Kings were one of the bottom feeding teams of the Western Conference that season there. And then when you're just looking at assets alone, Calgary definitely won this trade here because actually a couple assets of this trade ultimately came back to the Calgary Flames in a short time here. Because after the 2006-7 season there for Jamie Lundmark there, he signed over in Europe there, and then he signed in the other minor leagues here. And then actually in the 2008-9 season there, he actually signed another contract with the Calgary Flames. So Calgary actually was able to get Jamie Lundmark back eventually down the road here. So that was one piece of the trade that the Los Angeles Kings got. That they got a couple good games out of him and some offense, but definitely didn't replace what Craig Conroy meant. And Craig Conroy is also one of the guys that you could say he fit in very well with this franchise. So that was Jamie Lundmark here. However, the 2 draft picks that the Los Angeles Kings got there was a 4th round pick in 2007 draft and a 2nd round pick in the 2008 draft here. And of the 4th round pick that the Los Angeles Kings used in 2007 here, which is where I say that the trade kind of equalized a little more for the Los Angeles Kings, is they drafted Dwight King. And Dwight King was actually one of the predominant players for the Los Angeles Kings in their 2 Stanley Cup runs here. Because if you look at Dwight King here, I mean, his best season offensively here, I mean, in the 13-14 season there, where that was the year that ultimately the Kings won their 2nd Cup in 3 years here. In 77 games, he had 15 goals, 15 assists for 30 points here. But if you look at his playoff numbers here, because the other season where the Kings ultimately won their first Stanley Cup in the 11-12 season there, he only played 27 games in the regular season because he was still gritting his teeth to be in a full-time NHL there. He still had 5 goals, 9 assists, 14 points here. But in those 2 playoff runs alone, and also I can throw in the season in between there, where the Los Angeles Kings went to the conference championship here. So in the 11-12 season for Dwight King, where they won their first Stanley Cup there, in 20 games, he had 5 goals, 3 assists for 8 points there. So he almost matched his offensive total in 27 games with 20 games there. And then the following season, the 12-13 season, where ultimately the Los Angeles Kings lost to the eventual Cup champions, the Chicago Blackhawks, in 18 games. He had 2 goals, 3 assists, and 5 points here, so not as good here. However, the 13-14 season, I guess I gotta say, is his finest there. In 26 games, he scored 3 goals, 8 assists for 11 points. And that's in the playoffs alone, so that's almost a third of his production in the whole playoffs there. So I'm going to say the Los Angeles Kings, what saved the trade for them, for their sake, is Dwight King there. So that's... and now, the 2nd round pick that the Los Angeles Kings got in 2008 there, actually that 2nd round pick actually went back to these guys here. As in the 2008 draft there, I'm trying to follow the trades here, but I know the Calgary Flames, they made several trades on the trade table that year, as the Calgary Flames traded away Alex Tanguay to the Montreal Canadiens for a couple draft picks, and they moved down into the draft, and eventually they drafted Greg Nemus. Greg who? Yeah, exactly. He wasn't that good here. But then one of the many trades that the Calgary Flames did is I know they traded away a 1st round pick to the Anaheim Ducks here, but I'm just going to find the transactions here on hockeyreference.com here. But Mike Camilleri, yes, the same Mike Camilleri that was traded during the game here. When he came here the first time here, he was traded to Calgary from the Los Angeles Kings with Calgary's 2nd round pick. That 2nd round pick that happened to be used in the Craig Conroy trade for a first round pick that was later traded to Anaheim. And Anaheim had that pick, and they actually selected Jake Gardiner there. And then the second round pick that eventually the Anaheim Ducks traded for Carolina for Brandon Dublin. So we did get Mike Camilleri there, but there was a couple of assets that we could have used back then. But the Calgary Flames, also with that second round pick that they traded to get Craig Conroy back, that we got back in the Mike Camilleri trade here, was used on Mitch Wall, and he wasn't. He didn't have a big NHL career. He didn't make an impact there. But I can still say ultimately we won this trade because of the fact that we got back a fan favorite, and he's now parlayed that into his management career with the Calgary Flames. He's played half of his games. He played over 500 of his 1,000 games with the Calgary Flames there. And regardless how it started, because Craig Conroy seems to like to tell that story when he first came into Calgary, 2001 there, and it was definitely shocking at the time when we traded Corey Stillman for Craig Conroy, and it was a 5th round pick that we got, and eventually it was David Moss. That's that player that Jerome McGinley was waiting to see to follow Craig Conroy there, but we traded away a leading scorer at the time, and we were struggling here, and actually Ginla and Conroy first didn't seem eye to eye there. Like if you took in that moment that the story goes and said, oh, eventually they're going to be great friends and have this great chemistry on the ice here, and eventually, and I was myself one of the many fans, and Craig Conroy definitely took some heat in the media there about we traded Corey Stillman for this guy here. I mean, he was known as a defensive forward there, and he was a finalist for a Selke Trophy twice in his career there, and actually he was 1 year a finalist for the Lady Byng Trophy there for a gentleman there. But despite how it started here, definitely glad that Craig Conroy definitely cemented his career with them, and definitely I was excited as well as many fans when we brought him back 13 years ago, and it's great that he's still here in the Calgary market, and I'm definitely glad that he was a big part of Jerome McGinley's career. And at the start of this video, that's why I shared that picture about me. I got to spend time. I had a picture with Craig Conroy there, and back in 2009 there, finally also with Mike Camilleri there, and but yeah, that's what my trade respect on the Craig Conroy trade. That it was definitely a lot more exciting when we brought him back the second time there, and I wasn't at that game there, but there was extra buzz in the arena there, and apparently when they were singing the national anthem there, they were panning the bench, and then they show Craig Conroy on the bench wearing our colors again. He was definitely getting a rousing cheer, and he came back and scored 2 goals there. But you can also see that Rogers hometown video on that time when he was stranded in Red Deer. But this is one of the first of my trade retrospects here, and this definitely was a great trade. I say the Calgary Flames have made. Los Angeles Kings still got something out of it in Dwight King there, but ultimately 2 aspects came back to Calgary here. One didn't pan out with his career, and Jamie Lundmark was just a depth forward there. So yeah, I would say if you enjoy everything that I do on my YouTube channel, follow along with this Calgary sports fan journey, home of the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders there. I do game recaps, and this is one of the things I've started doing more often, is looking back at some trades, good, bad, and ugly here. And finally here, this is a good trade. There's definitely going to be a bad and ugly one here that that happened around this time in Flames history here. But I also do personal vlogs, attempt a comedy, and share my experiences, let's say, when I'm at sporting events or on the road there. So if that sounds like anything you're interested in, to follow along with this Calgary sports fan journey, so make sure you like and subscribe. And unlike IMJ Station, my stuff is real there, as that's definitely been a huge soap opera on this platform here. But I'm real, I'm transparent, and I don't fake my stuff here. So yeah, if that's, as I always say, go Flames go. And glad that Craig Conroy is still with the Calgary Flames, not on the ice anymore, but still with the franchise here. And definitely is one of the great Flames that we've had both on and off the ice. And it was just fitting for him to come back, and just a very strange story and circumstances that, hey, we got him back here, and he was stranded in Red Deer here. And actually, the last part I should also say is when you also see in the Rogers hometown video there that that when he got traded to Calgary, Dean Lombardi told him that we traded you there. And when you're in Red Deer, it's like, where's there? Are you with these guys, or the Oilers up the road there? And he got a little nervous, but I was happy that I was with these guys, and we're happy he came back, and glad that you're still with the Calgary Flames, and you're a great ambassador for the Calgary Flames. Craig Conroy there. I had to get that last piece in before I say I'll see you in the next video.